My 3 children, they were my world. I had 2 girls and a boy. Gina was the oldest. She was just always a happy little girl. When we went to church that morning, Gina was on the back row. I was on the usher's pew.
Gary was a deacon there in 1980, and I taught Sunday school at that time.
We probably had close to 300 people in the sanctuary that day. We were packed.
And so we were in the midst of singing, and then all of a sudden,
He come through the doors, screamed out, "This is war."
it was being broadcast. The church service was being broadcast, so people started calling the police department and saying something's going on at the First Baptist Church. I heard pop, 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 like firecrackers, and I looked around, and it was a man with a gun, and he had on a helmet, camouflage type clothing, dressed like a soldier, really, and shooting.
We were just trapped, helpless.
There were people down, and of course, little Gina Lina just shot.
A bullet got her right in the temple, and it come out between her eyes. And I got up and ran over there to her, and I shook her. I gently pulled her to me, and I was patting her, telling her it was going to be okay. But when I looked under the bench, I saw her brains. And I knew it wasn't going to be okay.
Our pastor, associate pastor, he told people, get down, get down.
Everybody, please sit down. Please sit down.
The ushers interrupted him because one of them grabbed a gun barrel when he was shooting back there.
Fortunately, thank the Lord that Chris Hall jumped on his back.
Chris he was a great running back at Daingerfield on one of the state championship teams, and athletic.
Chris was fast. Chris was very fast.
They broke through the set of doors right, they entered the auditorium, wrestling, hit the floor, shots began to ring out. Red McDaniel and Kenneth Truitt, 2 giants of men, headed down the aisle. Red McDaniel grabbed him in a bear hug.
Their momentum carried them out and actually busted the 2 exterior doors.
He shot Red 5 or 6 times while all that, he didn't turn loose of him. When they hit the ground outside, the pistol bounced, a few feet away.
I had gotten up and was headed back that direction.
Kenneth dove on him, but just before he got there, he was able to grab a gun and shoot Kenneth.
Mr. Truitt was laying right here, and Red McDaniel was laying over there. And Red never opened his eyes, never said, a word. He didn't say anything. And then I talked to Kenneth Truitt and asked him, was there anything that I could do? I did take my coat off and put under his head. He just kept saying, "Junior, it hurts." Mr. Truitt, he didn't make it to the hospital.
So 5 people were killed.
And 10 more wounded.
Without the heroism of those men, we were all sitting ducks. That's the thing that will stay with me till the day I die, that those men laid down their lives for us. And just such a wonderful example of good, such a terrible example of evil.
Satan's not afraid to walk in. That day when he entered, it was darkness, cold, you could smell death. Who did it? Why? I want to know.
dressed in full combat gear, burst into the crowded church and fired on the congregation. 2 men were killed trying to wrestle the gunman outside.
I heard a woman scream, "He's down, he's down, he shot himself."
I ran around the corner and I could see that the gunman was laying face down over by the fire station. It was Al King.
The gunman, identified by witnesses as Alvin Lee King, shouted, "This is war," and opened fire. 5 people were killed, 10 people wounded.
I knew right away that was him.
It about made me physically ill because I'd been on the grand jury that indicted him. And I thought, oh no, is this what caused this? I remember when the district attorney came in there, he said, now this next case is really unusual and it's going to be very graphic, and I just want you all to get prepared for it.
His daughter had finally pressed charges for sexual assault.
And they started telling us what he had done, and it was awful. It was totally unimaginable what a father would do to a daughter.
He was desperate. He didn't want to face those charges.
Of course, he was arrested. He got out on bail.
King was scheduled to go on trial Monday for incest.
Apparently, they'd been trying to get some character references for him.
Authorities suspect Sunday's motive may have been revenge when church members refused to be character witnesses.
All of them that had been approached, and I don't really know how many had been approached, said no.
Perhaps one of the reasons he targeted the First Baptist Church was because people there weren't willing to be character witnesses.
And also, First Baptist Church was full of school people. He taught at the high school, and I was teaching at the high school. And I knew his wife, Gretchen. She taught at the junior high, so I knew both their children.
What was he like?
He was extremely high-tempered, and he had no patience at all for slower students.
She was hard, no-nonsense type teacher.
There were some things, like when he was a bus driver, he ran over a dog one day, and there was some trouble over that.
Do you feel there were signals with Al King looking back on him?
Well, I tell you what, I was afraid he'd do something. Of course, it never entered my mind he would do something so radical. But I felt uneasy because he was such a loose cannon.
Did you ever suspect that he would be violent like this?
I don't know that I suspected it, but I was not surprised at it.
And he was your high school teacher?
I do know this from being in his class. And when he took his glasses off, he was blind as a bat. And he lost his glasses whenever they pushed him out of the building. He came running from the front of the church, run right past his truck, and with him not having his glasses on, and not being able to see, you know, I really feel like he probably hit this and fell and had that .22 pistol, and it just accidentally. I don't think he shot himself in the head on purpose. But God and him, the only ones that know the answer to that.
It was also premeditated because he'd been making plans.
On a remote country road outside Daingerfield. Inside, King tied his wife to a chair, then headed for the First Baptist Church in town.
You think a man could have that much hate in his heart to go into a group of innocent people and just start shooting and to kill a little girl?
People came over to me trying to hug me, and I pushing them away and said, no, things like this don't happen, not in God's house.
I don't think anybody anywhere could imagine that taking place in the United States anywhere.
We were hoping it'd be the last time.
Police believe he shot and killed 6 people and wounded another at this posh Dallas nightclub.
The 35-year-old gunman smashed his truck through the front windows of the cafeteria.
I saw the man eye to eye.
We have children over here.
Fort Worth's Wedgwood Baptist Church was packed with mostly teenagers.
Pulled the trigger and it hit me in the chest.
A firestorm of bullets rained down on dozens of soldiers. At least 13 were killed.
You don't expect it here. You don't.
The lone survivor of the massacre that killed her parents and 4 siblings.
I'm really thankful for all of the people that have been praying for me.
Reaction tells the story of the chaos and horrific scene that unfolds as the gunshots start exploding.
We have an active shooter with a high-power rifle. Get back! Back!
The suspects fired on police, shooting some in the back in what has been called an ambush-style attack.
I was walking, and the sniper just started shooting. Man, like all of the cops were getting shot, man. I just saw cops bending over.
The sanctuary, now a memorial for all the lives lost. Each chair sits where a member of this congregation was found.
You can't fight hate with hate. You gotta fight it with love.
21 people shot, among them a 17-month-old toddler and 3 police officers.
Isn't this worth all of our efforts?
Authorities believing at this point the suspected gunman acted alone and published a manifesto.
I just want to know that she's not in that building and that nobody's taking care of her.
It's horrible.
We have a problem here, but my gosh, the solution is us.
Santa Fe, Sutherland Springs, El Paso, Texas, these things are going to continue to happen if we don't take action. Tragedy met our community here with a senseless act of racial violence. Here, over 22 people were gunned down and over 20 people were wounded. So I think as someone who represents the community that was attacked, I will be vocal in making my community's voice heard.
Select Committee on Mass Violence Prevention and Community Safety will come to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Darby.
Here.
Navarez. Blanco. Here. Capriglione.
Here.
Guerin.
Here. My commitment to you is that we will listen, we will work, and we will engage in a serious conversation. I want to thank Governor Abbott for his quick and comprehensive response and his executive orders to address some of our system's shortcomings.
We have in place a working model that is good, but we know that we need to both expand and improve upon those efforts.
Governor Greg Abbott issued 8 executive orders to move from reaction to prevention, and he's directed that the Department of Public Safety take specific actions.
The governor has suggested increasing the presence of suspicious activity reporting.
You'll often hear him say, if you see something, say something. I think that's one component of this.
Every person has got to be aware of their surroundings and be able to and willing to report suspicious activity when they see it.
I'm currently the director of the Matrix Fusion Center in El Paso. It's a fusion of many different agencies, local, state, and federal. Analysts, sworn civilian employees who gather intelligence. We have Department of Public Safety, El Paso Sheriff's Department, El Paso Police Department, obviously. The Fusion Center is designed to get all those units, agencies together so they share information. There's only a finite amount of information we can go through with the staff we have, but that's certainly the more people, the more eyes, the more technology, the more programs we have helping us uncover that information, the better opportunity we have to prevent something from happening.
There are a handful of fusion centers in Texas, but not every area has them, correct?
Correct.
We saw the mother of the individual who came here had reported to the police that she didn't believe her son should own this type of weapon. That's a red flag.
Do you think that anything could have been done to stop what he had planned earlier?
If the mother of this individual had reported something to police and there was no action taken as a result of that, or no process in place for police to take action in coordination with state police, we as legislators need to implement those type of requirements so that these tragedies don't happen.
This system has existed for years.
While it exists, it's not being utilized as it should be, and we as policymakers need to implement policies that require this type of communication.
My son Dylan is a firefighter, and he's been on the El Paso Fire Department for several years. He was one of the first on the scene. He was actually in Walmart when he called me to let me know he was okay. The dead were still in there, and he saw everything. The one person that really understands is his dad. You know, one of the few people that's been through it.
What's it like for you as a wife and a mother to have a family that was touched by mass violence twice?
My son and my husband were both involved in the two largest shootings in El Paso. So it's sad that I have two, members going through that.
The Starburst, how did you come to be there that night?
That was a local hangout. It was a country and western bar. There was a dance floor and a couple of pool tables. I remember we were sitting at a table. I was sitting with my back to the door, a couple of pops, and I turned around. It felt like somebody punched me. And I reached up and, my hand was, full of blood. I can remember seeing bodies laying right next to me.
The shooter, Barry Schvarek, he had been thinking about shooting someone before?
In my mind, that was a little more premeditated than everybody thought.
The shooting at the Starburst was probably one of the first documented mass shootings in America.
Five died and 3 others were wounded.
The shooter, Barry Schvarek, he had been thinking about shooting someone before?
He started drinking about 10:30 in the morning at a different bar, and they left there drunk. They went out shooting rabbits in the desert. He was with a buddy of his that had been in Vietnam, and he asked him, what did it feel like to shoot someone? So in my mind, that was a little more premeditated than everybody thought. That he didn't just snap at the bar. It was like the thought process was already kind of in place. He's got the 22 in his car. Apparently, he'd been thinking about it.
There were people screaming and it was chaos. It felt like I was hit. Somebody punched me is what I thought at first. It entered my chin right here and came out of the front of my chin. And that's one of the reasons why I wear a beard. My friend Roger actually took a pool cue and hit him, I believe it was twice, with the cue. One of the guys at the bar grabbed him, and then 2 other people ran over and just all subdued him. I'm here to tell you that you have absolutely no idea how you're going to react in a situation like that until it happens to you. The only thing you can do is prepare.
stands for Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training. We're in the simulation building. It's a mock school, wide hallways, lots of rooms, multiple floors, stairwells, and all the things that are characteristic of where a lot of these attacks occur. The facilities here are designed around training so seemingly dangerous as to tap into the part of the brain that triggers that stress response. Where we come in as trainers is to coach people through those effects of stress.
All right, guys, we've got it all. What's our actions now?
To pick a right choice, to take a correct action, and to be calm under pressure.
So we're not just going out and training and saying, hypothetically, something could happen. Instead, we look at what has unfolded over this 19-year period and show this is how civilians can help. What the law enforcement officers learned in this setting today, they can go back to their homes and hopefully teach that to citizens to be able to
respond. That's exactly what we're looking for. We want them to go to, we get all the phone calls from the churches and the schools and the hospitals and the business community. What can we do for an active shooter scene? And it's not only are we going to tell you what to do when the shooter is shooting, but we're going to tell you what to do in the aftermath of the shooting.
All right, give us your tourniquet. Give us your tourniquet.
I'm going to put a tourniquet on. I'm going to put on a chest seal. I'm going to do a wound pack. A femoral bleed, on average, is only about 2 minutes before the person bleeds out. The average response time for a police officer is 3. So if you're waiting on a first responder to come and save this situation, time's not going to allow it. It's just the clock is ticking.
Should this program be a requirement for every department in the nation?
The public's expecting it now.
Do you expect that the legislature will probably be talking about allocating more money to this program?
We hope that's the case, and because we know the demand far exceeds the supply or the funding that we get right now.
I had 6 children, and that was Randy, the one who was taken away from me at the age of 20. I loved that boy. And Barry Shavark took him within seconds.
I've heard about people, subduing the shooter with a pool cue.
Yes.
And of course, your son pushed a woman out of the gunfire.
Yes, he gave his life. I was so proud of that boy, to save somebody. His death wasn't in vain.
Barry Shavark was convicted of 5 counts of murder.
Yes.
And he is in prison still today.
Yes, he is, yes.
He comes up for parole, and you and your family have been active in voicing your concerns about that.
We just signed the papers why he shouldn't come. I did not sign the paper this last time. For the simple reason, I don't want to live with hate anymore. Now if he gets out, maybe I should get rid of it and forgive Barry Shavark for killing my son.
The gunman ran across the street and shot himself in the head.
He shoots himself with a .22 pistol, grazes his skull with a .22.
It knocked him out.
46-year-old Alvin Lee King III is charged with the murders and is recovering in a Galveston, Texas hospital.
Doctors found King competent to stand trial, so they sent him back here to Morris County.
We were so afraid that he would
get off with insanity. I was just scared to death that he was gonna somehow come back.
Flags are flying at half-staff. Most of the business district is shut down in memory of the 5 people who were killed Sunday at the First Baptist Church.
We went back to the church that night and helped pull out the bloody carpet.
They tried to drown out the smell of blood with ammonia and repair the bullet-ridden pews.
They had to pull out all the pews.
We use it as a fellowship hall. We voted to build a new sanctuary.
After that happened, we had deacons on patrol every service.
In our library, there is an album. We received cards and letters from people all over the world saying that they were praying for First Baptist Church, Daingerfield.
Just made the church stronger. You know, evil didn't win.
King was to stand trial soon for the June 1980 mass murder.
When they brought him back, they were transporting him from the jail. I never shall forget, in the paper there was a picture of him sticking out his tongue. How arrogant. I've killed these people, and I'm sticking out my tongue. And just such total defiance. When they started playing the radio tape, you could hear the shots, and then you could hear people crying. And when the relatives heard that, then they all started crying in the courthouse. Apparently, the hearing did get to him, since he committed suicide that night.
The body of Alvin Lee King III was brought to Dallas shortly before noon today for an autopsy.
He was hanging from one of his cell bars with a towel wrapped around his neck.
And I don't mind telling you, it's the greatest relief in the world, because we were so afraid. Just really never known such terrible evil. Even decades later, it's still with you.
It's a pain. It's a void in your life. This is Gina, and this is her little class.
This was first grade?
This was kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
After this happened, I had people to come tell me, time is going to help. Time is going to help. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to scream. I don't want time to take care of it. I want it to be taken care of now. I know in my heart, Gina is in heaven. I love her, I miss her, and I'm looking forward to being with her again.
Hello, we are at Rolling Hall here at the Macomb School of Business at the University of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle.
And I'm Arzo Dost. Over the last 4 decades, we've had at least 32 mass shootings here in Texas.
Of course, Austin has had its own history with mass shootings, with one that happened here more than 50 years ago on this very campus. It was one of the deadliest mass shootings by a lone gunman.
There have been many other mass shootings since, and now Texas families are demanding something be done.
So right now, lawmakers are talking about options to stop these tragedies, these mass shootings that have been happening across Texas. I want to start with Fred Burton, who specializes at Stratfor with security and terrorism. A big focus has been on suspicious activity reporting.
Well, I think it's critical, meaning if you look at, if you see something, say something, and the ability to report unusual behavior or things that just don't look right, to give the proper authorities an opportunity to evaluate what might be coming on.
After any mass shooting, the conversation often turns to mental health. Karen Reynes with NAMI, you guys focus on education and support. Is it fair to always make that connection, and what stigma does that create?
Yeah, it's absolutely not fair, especially when I think we look at the studies and data that have been consistently showing us that actually mental illness can only be connected to less than 4% of any kind of violence in the United States. And then when we look at mass shootings specifically, some of the recent studies we've seen, one coming out of the National Council of Behavioral Health, which showed that less than a third of mass shootings could be attributed to mental health issues. So that's 2/3 of those mass shootings that there doesn't appear to be a direct link there. And yet that seems to be what we tend to lead with. And so it is a vast issue in the sense that I think as we continue then to point to that immediately, what it does do is I think it does raise the stigma that already exists. And I think it's important to recognize that that stigma translates to shame for the individuals and families that are impacted. And what you want to make sure that you're doing in issues of mental health, which are serious public health issues, is you want to make sure that people feel confident and comfortable about reaching out and getting the help that they need in regards to their mental health issues. And so we know from families and individuals that we talk to, that continues to be a barrier, especially anytime after a mass shooting when that's the conversation. People hunker down and they isolate more because they are fearful. And I think it's important to recognize that that we educate ourselves in understanding that there is that 4% and that we understand in most of those cases that 4% also equates to people who are untreated. And many times there's a substance use issue going on as well. So the more educated we are in understanding that one, having people that are not accessing treatment becomes a hindrance to all of us, but then also recognizing that in many cases you can have that relationship between not only having a mental health issue but also the substance use issue. So we really need to understand where this violence is coming from. And I think we really have not done enough studies around mass shootings to truly understand all of the root causes. I think going to mental health isn't easy. Let's lean into that. And so we do need to better educate the community.
We spent some time down at Texas State University at ALERT, which trains law enforcement on how to handle active shooter situations. John Kernett, you're there all the time. You know, what role does citizens play in that scenario?
It's a huge role. They're there before the responders get the call and can respond and do what we're supposed to do. So that's why it's important for us as a response community to reach out to the community that we service, that we serve and protect, and train them on what they can do when seconds count and we're minutes away. What should they do and how should they prepare for this? That's the uncomfortable conversation that very few people want to have, but is absolutely required to have. There are things that people need to do to prepare themselves, not just for these active attacks, but for any type of man-made or natural disaster that can overwhelm somebody's ability to cope with what they're dealing with. And that's kind of our job as the response community within a city or a county, is to educate people on what their options are and try to get them more prepared. It is very much a holistic approach that should be done. We shouldn't just relegate this to, well, we have cops, so they'll just take care of this, or we have paramedics, they'll take care of the medical. As we see in these events that we've researched, we're not there quick enough to stop killing or to stop people from dying as a result of their injuries. So we have to empower people to be able to do that for themselves when and where that's necessary.
You work with patients right now. Dr. Robert Feinstein with UT's Department of Psychiatry. You're behind a violence simulation exercise. How does something like that prepare people to deal with violence?
Yeah, so we've been doing violence simulation exercises all over the country, mostly focused though on medical centers, outpatient clinics, university settings. And these are combined activities that we do with law enforcement, usually the police, they're joint. The process is beginning to look at the communication plans that go on, because when there's an event that occurs, people have to know an event's going on, and then people have to know what to do. And we have found through a whole series of simulation that working through this on a planning stage without an actual simulation, people don't learn how to do it as well. So during a simulation, people make a lot of mistakes, and then they remember for an actual event. We do this in particularly focused on mental health clinics, not because there's a lot of shooting there, but patients can get agitated and need help, but also in medical clinics and other places you wouldn't necessarily expect, like pharmacy lines, for example. Pharmacy lines in hospitals, often because patients don't get drugs that they need, they become agitated, upset, and a lot of events occurring in pharmacies, in hospitals in particular, not general pharmacies throughout the country. So our experience has been going through a simulation allows both the staff of an organization as well as the police to practice working together, to understand what needs to happen during an event and to learn how to stay safe.
With active shootings, often the focus becomes on the weapon and gun laws, but at the same time, protecting your right to own guns. Ed Scruggs with Texas Gun Sense, you think our laws could be strengthened. What do you mean by that?
There's no question that they can be strengthened. And I think if you're looking at this overall in terms of the security question, which is what we're doing here today in a sense, I think the state is operating on a level where we are not doing much to prevent our bad actors from acting out. We make it very simple, almost easy for people with bad intent to access the weapons and to act out on their plan. So then this changes our overall security plan because we have to double up. Cities, counties, other entities have to spend even more on security. So yes, we could do a lot more with laws that would protect and respect individual rights to own firearms, but would just build some security into the system. I equate this now as we have alarm systems in our house or in a business to prevent something bad from happening. We're basically proceeding in the state without an alarm system, and we're just dealing with the problem when it comes to the door, and that makes it so much more difficult. We think if we can put some safety into the system in the very beginning to make it more difficult, for example, for the shooter to bring the gun to school or to the workplace when they have no business having a firearm, that this will aid in overall security and safety for the entire state.
I think it's really important that as we look at of all the different things that we can do in terms of prevention, that is one in which, what if we could reduce that 4% to make it even less than that? And I think the reality is currently we don't have the kind of continuum of care that we need around mental health to ensure that that can happen. We have been working recently with a family who has been in a situation where their son had been hospitalized like 13 times in the last 13 months. Yes. For short periods of time, right? Just long enough where it feels like they're stable, right? But not really getting the long-term kind of care that they needed to get to really achieve wellness. And what this mother said to me is, I know what's going to happen. Like the only way he's going to be able to be someplace for a long enough time to get the treatment he needs is if he gets incarcerated.
Well,
he's going to have to go to jail.
Go through 40 hours of CIT.
Oh, absolutely.
Minimum.
We're involved with that training.
And on a continuing annual, biannual basis.
But from my perspective,
I've been on calls where I've had to talk to somebody and I've had to sit out here and try to keep them from killing themselves and any violence to happen. Hours and hours I spent. And then you take them to state hospital, and if they don't have insurance, they're magically cured within a few hours or a few days. And then who's watching them and who's following up? And then we're right back
that's
there
my
a week
point.
later.
Is that, and so in this situation, we shouldn't have situations like that where families very clearly know that they have a loved one who is very ill and needs care and can't access it, and that the only solution that they can think of is that he gets arrested. And then I run into her and find out that sure enough, he ended up getting arrested, not for anything very serious, but she's like, I'm just happy he's getting care now. And there is something seriously wrong when we are allowing for serious health issues like this to be treated in that way. If I had a daughter who had cancer and I had to keep taking her to the doctor and they'd say, okay, well, she's okay for now. We have to wait until, in the state of Texas, until someone's either at risk of hurting themselves or others in order then for them to be taken in on emergency detention, and even then is for a very short amount of time. So we really do have to pay attention and transform our mental health system and really create a continuum of care so people get the kind of care that they need. And then you could reduce even that 4% down to almost nothing if we really had that level of care.
And if you factor the substance abuse in that 4%, then it turns out that it's the substance use that's producing the violence way more than any of the particulars of the mental health condition. And so, but our resources have been cut. Estimates are we've lost about $5.5 billion worth of mental health services since 2008. That's part of the problem for mental health. I'm not sure it's the gun issue, but it's definitely a problem for for inadequate mental health
Yeah,
for our...
there's no parity, and so people are not getting access to the kind of care that they need. We've got more than 60% of adults who can't access the level of care that they need to be well. And so when you figure that 1 in 5 people in the United States are impacted by mental health every single year, it is definitely something that impacts all of us. And it is one other small piece. As I said, I hate connecting it to the violence because it is such a small number. But if we're going to be looking at all of the various solutions, then we definitely have to be looking at the level of care we're providing for mental health.
I want to thank you each for being part of this thoughtful, respectful conversation, and we look forward to seeing how lawmakers implement the solutions that we've discussed and others that are being brought up ahead of the next session in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Online now, A History of Mass Violence, the Digital Investigation. Experience the entire 5-part docuseries, an interactive map of the Daingerfield church shooting, extended expert analysis of the many solutions proposed to fix this problem, and our data feature on the outcomes of hundreds of attacks across the country to see how often citizens are subduing shooters themselves. Plus, a video and photo timeline of 32 mass shootings in Texas over the last 40 years, and an immersive story on some of the survivors of those events. Also, don't forget our weekly investigative podcast, Catalyst, to continue exploring what we've discovered. It's all online now at texasmassviolence.com.